On today's episode of the NBA Draft Junkies podcast, me, your host, James Barlow, I'm going to give you my exhibition game notes covering potential top 3 picks, AJ Dybantsa, Darryn Peterson, Cameron Boozer, and I'll also be mentioning Nate Ament and Louisville's Mikel Brown Jr. Stay tuned. Again, this is James Barlow, and this is the NBA Draft Junkies podcast. I appreciate you for tuning in. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Set your notifications on because I'm coming at least once a week, especially early on. As more games get under the way, I will continue to put out more podcasts and more content. So stay tuned. It's going to be a fun season. As you can see, the top 3 picks or the projected top 3 picks are all put on shows in this exhibition period, so there's a lot to talk about. So without further ado, let me get right to it. First game I'm going to cover is AJ Dybantsa's game against Nebraska. AJ put on a show. He finished with 30 points, and he showed you exactly why he is a projected top 3 pick in this loaded draft class. I'm just going to read some notes. His rip through is what I would like to consider very Kevin Durant-like. Quick rip through, get to the basket. He covers a lot of ground when he decides to go to the rim. AJ is a very tough matchup to handle in the half court. He covers so much ground. He's every bit of 6'9". In the half court, one thing that I have noticed a lot is that he definitely wants to go left. And it's not a weakness. It's more of an observation. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wants to go left. He wants to go left to get to his pull-up. And AJ Dybantsa is very similar in that way. And it's not necessarily a weakness, but I would like to see him attack the rim going right because defenses tend to load up on his left hand, and he's 6'9". He's going to be able to get to his spots. He's going to be able to elevate over guys, but I do think he could do a better job of reading that second line of defense because as we get deeper into the season, they're going to tilt to his left-hand side. And as talented as AJ is, you want to vary your shot selection, but nobody can really stop him from getting to his left hand. He had a play where he went left and he faked the spin back middle and he hit the shot over 2 defenders. Like, stuff like that at 18 years old is amazing. That is why those T-Mac comparisons are legit, because his just ability to score, his feel for the game, get into his spots, it's amazing. And I'm going to say it and continue to say it. There's 3 number 1 picks in this draft. If a team ends up with AJ Dybantsa wherever you draft that, you're going to get a very, very talented guy. Another thing that I like about AJ Dybantsa's game, and I've mentioned it on other podcasts before, is that in transition, he is really, really good. And I think that because he is 6'9", when he does commit to rebounding the basketball, and he can get out there and push the ball in transition, it's not Giannis-like, but it's really, really close because he covers a lot of ground. And like I said, he's going to go left, and he's likely going to get fouled. An underrated aspect of AJ Dybantsa's game that maybe goes unnoticed, again, you see the pull-up jumpers, you see the size, you see the scoring creativity, you see all the shades of your favorite early 2000s small forward or whoever you may compare him to. But I think he handles double teams very well. He's probably been getting doubled for, 18, past 10 years of his life. And you can tell that the double teams don't really bother him. Oftentimes he accepts the double and he throws skip passes. I think that's really good. He's not the pick and roll passer, but because he's such a good post player, especially in the mid post, he sees the double, he's patient. Sometimes he may step through the double team, but I do think he does a very, very good job of making plays out of double teams. On defense, when he is locked in, he's 6'9". He has no issues defending the post, and that's good. I think he has the ability, the talent to be able to defend 2, 3, and 4, but especially 3 and the 4. And if he's at 6'9" with guard skills at the 4, that's going to be a very tough matchup. But the physicality of the Nebraska bigs didn't bother him. Walled up, hands were high. I think he's a very good post defender. It just speaks to his versatility as an offensive player and defensive player. Now, he did have his lapses on the defense end. There is a play floating around on Twitter, and it's not a knock on anybody. Stuff gets out, it's like, oh, that's all you see. But he does have his tendency to get lost on defense. And again, kids are 18 years old. No one's a finished product. I expect it, but he got lost on defense. But he does have the talent, the ability to be a disruptive defender. Again, length, athleticism, size. He just has to lock in on that end of the floor. Overall, I was very impressed with his performance against Nebraska. I think these exhibition games do have a lot of value. I hold these games, especially as they're playing all these teams, Duke, BYU, Kansas, they're playing top tier talent in these exhibition games. This means more to me than, when Duke decides to play Army. No disrespect to the Army or the armed forces or anybody else defending this country, but I can only take so much from those games because those aren't NBA players. When you're playing against NBA players, high-level European level players in the future, I feel like these games do hold some value. These aren't necessarily, and it's not just AJ Dybantsa, but these aren't overreactions. These are just things that I have noticed. But overall, I thought AJ was really, really good. Like I said, I would like to see him go to his right more, especially because, again, if it's just a matter of reading the second line of defense. When you're a talented offensive player, you're never worried about the guy in front of you. And he's clearly not worried about the guy in front of him. He just has to, I want to say, mix in and get to the rim more, especially going right. There were a couple plays where the right side of the floor is open. And again, he's 6'9", long strides, handle is good enough. He can get to the basket, or that's an easy driving kick read. So those are the things I would like to see more from AJ Dybantsa going forward. On to the Duke Blue Devils, who in their first exhibition game played Central Florida of the Big 12. This game was a monster. Well, it feels like every game is, but this was, I guess, the nation's introduction to Cameron Boozer. And I'm not just going to talk about Cameron Boozer. I'm going to talk about some of the other Duke guys, because I do believe that they do have at least 2 first-round picks on their team. But obviously the main event, the main attraction is Cameron Boozer, and he delivered. First thing I noticed about Cameron Boozer, and I guess maybe it was his first play, I believe he cut to the basket, and it was maybe a half backwards dunk. Like, that vertical pop in space in the half court means a lot. I think that Cameron Boozer is a good athlete, not a great athlete, but for him to show that flash of athleticism, it's not going to be consistent, because that's just not him, and that's okay. Obviously the production is there. Obviously he's very, very talented, but that was a very athletic play from somebody who's not known to be a great athlete. Cameron Boozer, very unselfish. Another play that sticks out to me, he had a possession where he made a pass, and he backpedaled, set his feet quickly, and shot a 3 in the corner. Like, he's an advanced talent, shoots the ball well, does a little bit of everything. I think he's going to be really good in pick and roll. As a pop guy, he can attack the closeout. In the short roll, he's their best playmaker, pretty much by far. Like, everything runs through Cameron Boozer. Because he's such a very good shooter, that you have to chase him off the line. And again, he's talented. He almost has no, I wouldn't say no offensive fault. I'll get into that a little later. But when you chase him off the line, he's not afraid to make a play, or he's not lost out there. You chase him off the line, he can score, he can make plays. Like I said, he's very, very, very talented. Also, there were plays during this game against Central Florida where we saw Cameron Boozer as the ball handler in 4-5 pick and roll with Patrick Gangba. I almost think that they should, again, it's exhibition games, you don't want to show everything, but I do think they have something there, because both guys are very good passers. Cam can, if you run a 4-5 pick and roll and Cam can throw the lob, he can make the skip pass. I think that there is something there. And also, if we're bringing in the Al Horford comparison, there was moments early on in Al Horford's career in Atlanta where he ran a lot of 5-4 pick and roll, 4-5 pick and roll with Josh Smith. So that just shows Cameron Boozer's IQ, his ability to make plays. Again, he just does so many things well. I did mention that Duke does have other draft prospects. I think that there is one surefire first-round pick outside of Cameron Boozer, and that's Patrick Gangba. It looks like he's slimmed down some. He looks to be in really good shape. I think that Gangba is a lottery pick. If this is your first time hearing me, watching me, you should check out my preseason lottery pod where I had Patrick Gangba as a 14th pick. Gangba was a very good passer, especially when Duke decides to play 5 out, and I also think that will translate well for Gongwa in the NBA. A potential first round pick, I have him mocked a little later in the 20s, but Isaiah Evans appears to have put on weight. Isaiah Evans tested last year, but ultimately came back to school. I think that was the right choice. He has put on weight, but he's still on the skinny side. He's a knockdown shooter, scorer. It's just a matter of will he do the other things when his shot's not falling? Will he be able to keep the defense honest? Can he score when you chase him off the line? Will he be able to rebound, do some of the ancillary things that you would like your spot-up shooters to do? Isaiah Evans appears likely to be Duke's second option this season, so he will have his opportunities to put himself in a first-round draft pick consideration. Another 5-star recruit Duke has, Nick Kamenya. I really didn't see much from him. I think he has struggled to put the ball on the ground to go by guys. He is defending at a very high level, but it's still early. I just don't have a proper evaluation as far as what I think he's going to do. Again, these are exhibition games. Maybe he shows me something a little later, but I don't see a first-round talent today. But again, that is today. It is October. We haven't even played our first official games yet. In these exhibition games, in particular the Central Florida game, I just haven't seen anything from him yet. Caden Boozer looks like he's a plus defender. Right now, he's backing up Caleb Foster. I don't know how long that's going to last. Duke is in an interesting position because everything runs through Cameron Boozer. Caden and Cameron do have, obviously, chemistry. They're twin brothers. They got that synergy together. But I do think there will be opportunities for Caden Boozer to emerge as the starter. Will he be able to turn himself into a first-round pick? That remains to be seen. He just doesn't have a lot of usage right now, and it seems like Shire is pretty. Again, the rotations are likely to change, but Shire is rolling with Caleb Foster. Now, on to the Louisville and Kansas game that featured number 1 on my big board, Darryn Peterson. Also, number 4 on my big board, which happens to be Mikel Brown Jr. Let's get right to Darryn Peterson. He had 26 points. He had 24 in the first half. And he put on a shooting display. He knocked down catch and shoot threes, quick threes, off the dribble. He had an isolation side step 3. He showed you every reason why I and a lot of other people are extremely high on Darryn Peterson. He's forcing turnovers. If your big turns his back to Darryn Peterson, he is coming in from the backside. He's going to get a steal. It feels like every single time. Peterson played on the ball. He played off the ball. But I want to say 2 things that really stuck out to me. Again, outside of the shot making, I mean, I'm a big believer in Darryn Peterson as a scorer. But one of my issues, not necessarily issues, 2 things that I wanted to see him do. And I know some people are billing him to be a point guard. I think eventually he will be a lead guard. He's going to be somebody that you absolutely run the offense through, like a Shai Gilgeous or Anthony Edwards. It's going to be all Darryn Peterson time in the future. So, 2 things that stuck out to me. Darryn Peterson was getting the threes up. And if you've watched some of my podcasts or listened to some of my podcasts about this draft class, one of my issues with Darryn Peterson, or one of the things that I wanted to see him do more, was shoot more threes. Again, this is not me saying turn into the 2017 Houston Rockets. Shoot the mid-range jumpers when the big is in drop. Shoot the mid-range jumpers out the post. He projects to be a superstar guard. In my opinion, superstar guards take mid-range jumpers. Superstar guards also take pull-up threes off the dribble, and Darryn Peterson definitely did that. So props to him. He got his shots up off the dribble from 3. I mean, sometimes you just got to play the numbers game. So he was very, very impressive in that. The other thing that I wanted to see Darryn Peterson, if we're saying that he is going to be a lead guard in the NBA in a couple years, again, I understand he's an NBA draft pick next year, but lead guard, run the offense through in a couple years, I wanted to see high-level reads. And he made 2 plays. He showed you glimpses of high-level reads, and they were both lobs off the dribble. Got to his left side in the first half, threw a live dribble lob, slam dunk. Second half, he split a pick and roll on the right side wing, goes middle, throws a lob. Those are high-level reads. That is why I am extremely high on Darryn Peterson. That's why he is my number 1 pick. No disrespect to AJ Dybantsa. No disrespect to Cameron Boozer. I almost think that this draft, again, draft Twitter, that's where I do most of my commentary. I'm not gonna argue about who's number one pick, two pick, three pick. Like all of these kids, these three kids are they're legit good. Now, maybe somebody emerges, maybe it becomes a two-man race instead of a three-man race, but you're wasting your time. Teams in this draft, teams drafting in the top three, these guys, these teams are going to win. Darryn Peterson finished with 26 points. It looks like Kansas is going to need him to be great, just like Bill Self said. So it's going to be a really good season for him. Like I said, I have him at number one right now. It is October. These things are subject to change. But if you ask me right now who I'm taking with number one pick, it would be Darryn Peterson. Onto his counterpart, Louisville point guard Mikel Brown. He struggled. I believe he ended up shooting 2 for 15 now. Mikel Brown's value isn't just scoring the ball. I do think he did a pretty good job of running the team, making plays, kicking the ball ahead, things that won't show up on your Twitter feed, Instagram feed. He made point guard plays. And since I'm here talking about point guards, and I just mentioned that Darryn Peterson could end up being a point guard, lead guard, I feel like, and I'm just going a little side rant real quick, but I feel like the NBA is devaluing point guards in a sense because the league is trending towards bigger guys, but at the same time we are giving bigger guys point guard ball handling duties who I don't necessarily think should be handling the ball. Teams aren't putting some of these guys in position to benefit. And I mean, like for example, Houston and Ament Thompson. Ament Thompson can handle the ball, but that doesn't make you a point guard. Ament Thompson can make plays, but that doesn't make you a point guard. Same thing with Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is a very good passer, but he's not a point guard. And I don't think it's a coincidence that D'Angelo Russell played 25 minutes tonight. And tonight, I'm recording this on Sunday night, the Mavs just played the Raptors. But I don't think it's a coincidence that D'Angelo Russell played 25 minutes and they get their first win of the season because you have a real point guard out there making decisions, making plays for guys. Now, I'm a big Cooper Flagg fan. I compare Cooper Flagg going into this draft. I think he could be Kawhi Leonard-like, but Kawhi Leonard had to grow into being a secondary ball handler. And even then, sometimes he just doesn't see guys. Now, he gets his assists off of volume. I think Cooper Flagg is obviously a better passer than Kawhi at the same stage, but I feel like putting him at the point guard position is just, you're not getting the best from him. He's better at attacking downhill. He can make reads there, but having to bring the ball up, evidenced by Stephon Castle, who was ripping him at half court, like that's just not a good look. And again, I get it, but I don't necessarily think that the timeline that this Mavs team is on means that you should play Cooper Flagg at point guard. Now, again, I know my brother works for the Mavs, but I speak for myself. And even then, speaking of Stephon Castle, James Barlow, high on Stephon Castle. Stephon Castle sees himself as a point guard, and I think Stephon Castle is a very good passer, but I also think he's a secondary playmaker. He's got like 20 turnovers through 3 games. A point guard in the NBA can't turn the ball over that many times. So I'm not saying we need to go back to the Avery Johnson, Mark Jackson days. No, that's definitely not the case. But I do think we need to keep point guards keep point guards alive, because every 6'6" guy is not going to be James Harden. Every 6'6" guy is not going to be Shai Gilgeous. And I don't think it's a coincidence. Again, it's 3 games. There's a lot of basketball to be played, but I don't think it's a coincidence that some of these teams are struggling because they're not playing point guards.
Athlete AI is the story of the athlete. And every athlete deserves to have the story told. Under the lights and in the spotlight. This is your moment, your rule. Download, capture, create, share. Athlete AI. Your name is Trent.
Back to Mikel Brown Jr. He struggled. And I don't want to say he got caught up in the matchup, but it kind of looked like he got caught up in the matchup. Again, this is one game. It's an exhibition game. It doesn't count. I fully expect him to bounce back. I'm not moving him up or down because of this game. I wish he would have played better, but he will have his opportunities to redeem himself. He didn't shoot the ball well. There was a sign of athleticism. He got to the basket. He missed the reverse layup. But the things that you want to see Mikel Brown Jr. do going forward, obviously, is making shots. Again, I don't necessarily think he had a bad floor game, but making shots and finishing are going to be very key this season for him because, again, he looks every bit of 6'5". I do think he's a very good passer, very good playmaker. He just has to be efficient. I mean, efficiency is half the battle in basketball, especially when we're in the analytics era where guys are doing deep dives and even outside of the analytics, like your point guard has to be able to finish at the rim and make plays. So he struggled. Again, it's just one game. He wasn't the only guy that struggled. These guys, Dybantsa's going to have a bad game eventually. Darryn Peterson's going to have one. I don't know if Cameron Boozer's going to have a bad game because he just does so many things. But it just happened to be Mikel Brown Jr.'s bad game. Now, it doesn't go on the record, and nobody will remember this if he turns it around and plays well. Also for Kansas, I do want to shout out, and I will be paying close attention to Fiore Badunga and also Bryson Tiller. They showed me some really good things. So Bryson Tiller blocked shots. He walled up. He's got a great wingspan. He's somebody that could probably find himself being a late first-round pick, maybe even higher. I mean, it's wide open. Some of these freshmen that we're talking about, it happens every year. Somebody's going to be in the portal. Somebody's going to just not perform well. That's just the nature of the draft. But Bryson Tiller looked really, really good in the exhibition game against Louisville. The third game that I'm going to highlight from these exhibition games was BYU and North Carolina. This game was very entertaining, very competitive on both sides. Both top 10 projected picks. Again, I mentioned, top 3 pick AJ Dybantsa. But Caleb Wilson was very, very impressive for North Carolina. I currently have Caleb Wilson as an 8th pick in this draft. And if he perform again, it's exhibition. I don't even know if I can call these exhibition. Like these games, these guys are playing hard now. At the end of the game, the rotations kind of look a little differently, and teams are probably going a little deeper into their bench than they normally would. But like they're taking it seriously. I just heard Rick Barnes say he'd much rather play these exhibition games than the secret scrimmages. With that being said, like Caleb Wilson was very, very impressive, and I did not know how he was going to score this season at North Carolina. I think he's more of a play finisher, but he finished plays. He finished with 20. He showed you all of the defensive upside, block shots. He had a nice face-up move off the dribble where he isolated on the left wing. He was on the right wing, and he knocked down the jumper. And he's very good athlete. I think he can put the ball on the ground, but he's going to score in transition. It's just going to be a matter of will we see enough self-creation from him for him to be a top 5 pick? I don't necessarily think that is far-fetched because at 6'9", 6'10", he defends at a very high level. He's very active on the glass. He's got a lot of talent. He's very mobile. I do think he has some Tari Eason in this game. Not necessarily Jabari Smith, but as a play finishing 4, I don't necessarily think he is a Jalen Johnson, but the talent is there. A play that really sticks out to me, Caleb Wilson, I believe he had the point guard from BYU in isolation, Rob Wright, and he stayed in front of him. He recovered. Like, that stuff right there translates. Again, it's exhibition, but he was very, very impressive. He's somebody who could find himself as a top 5 pick if he's able to just continue to show you what we saw from him in that exhibition game. Will he average 20 this season? I don't think so. But if he's at a cool 13, 14, and again, like I mentioned, self-creation, knock down enough jump shots, if he shoots a high enough percentage from the free throw line where you say, you know what, in a few years he'll be able to knock down a third of his three-point shots, I think you have something there. Really, really impressed with Caleb Wilson. And like I said, he took the challenge. He guarded AJ Dybantsa. He took the matchup. These guys, they were going at each other, and it was very competitive. It didn't look like an October game for either of them. Again, AJ Dybantsa, like I said, I don't know if he was reading Twitter or whatever, but the play that circulated on Twitter where he had a defensive lapse, he was locked in against UNC. Weak side block shots, 3 blocks. Very good. That hesitation move, the double hesitation that he had where I don't know if that was Caleb Wilson or not, but he banged on somebody. That is why AJ Dybantsa is in the conversation for being the number one pick. That's why we've been talking about him for 3 or 4 years, because plays like that. Very gifted scorer. Like I mentioned in the first game that he had against Nebraska, he just handles double teams very, very well. And I want to shout out AJ Dybantsa. For somebody as talented as he is not, I don't think he's a selfish player. I think he passes the ball very well out of double teams. Now, will he be able to pass out of pick and roll at a high level? That remains to be seen. But for somebody who is as talented as he is, who's been getting major buckets for it seems like a very long time, he is not a selfish player. I'm not saying he doesn't take tough shots. He's going to take tough shots. But I've been very impressed with his ability to find guys. Now, I don't think he's going to be a high assist or a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio guy early on. Maybe it takes him some time, and I don't necessarily base your passing ability, playmaking ability on your assist to turnover ratio. Sometimes that's just reading the floor, but I think he reads the floor very well in the post. So very impressed with him. Again, his defense this game, like, he was definitely locked in. Like I said, blocking shots, talking trash. These are the things that you want to see. I'm going to say it again until you get tired of hearing me say it, but it looks like there are 3 number 1 picks in this draft. And also, Caleb Wilson looks like somebody who could crack that top 5. So this was a very good game. Like I said, very impressed with both kids. They brought it. They didn't look like an exhibition game, and they played very, very well. Now, on to the last game that I will cover of these exhibition games that featured the Big Three. This game televised on Sunday as I'm recording this, before I recorded this podcast. It was the Duke Blue Devils versus the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, Cameron Boozer, top 3 pick, one of the best high school players ever, one of the best AAU players ever. He matched up against Nate Ament. I currently have Nate Ament as the 5th pick. Again, Mikel Brown didn't play well. I'm not going to move him because of an exhibition game. Nate Ament, I'm not going to move him because of an exhibition game. I'm going to give these guys some time before I start moving pieces around, because, guys get better. If you would have asked somebody this time last year, could Cooper Flagg shoot the ball, they're like, man, please, he can't shoot. And then when he turned 18, he just started making every single jumper, and he's continued to progress as a shooter. So let's get right to it. This game here, again, it didn't feel like an exhibition game. We're at Tennessee. Crowd was rocking. Felt like a regular season game. Both teams came out and competed. I want to mention that Rick Barnes said that when he was recruiting Ament, he showed him Kevin Durant film. Rick Barnes coached Kevin Durant at Texas, and he showed Nate Ament film of Kevin Durant and asked him if he could be that. And if you read my article on Substack, I don't think that is fair for Nate Ament. Again, Kevin Durant is one of the best players ever. Kevin Durant is one of the most gifted players ever. I think he might be the most talented player ever. Not the most decorated, but most talented. Nate Ament is not Kevin Durant. And again, this is not a bash Nate Ament segment. That's not what I'm here to do. Again, it's one preseason. It's one exhibition game. This game doesn't count. You take the film and you build on it from there. So I guess this is me, talking about Nate Ament's performance. Nate Ament shot 5 of 19 from the field. And again, if you read my Substack article, a lot of the concerns that I had with Nate Ament were evident. It was a lot of contested jumpers. I can't beat anybody off the dribble. I can't necessarily get to the basket. He did have a play where the defender closed out on the corner in the first half, and he attacked, finished with the 2-hand dunk. Maybe that was Cameron Boozer down there. I'd have to review the film. But those plays were few and far between. Of his 19 shots, felt like 17 of them were contested. And he just he's just not dynamic enough with the ball in his hands to create looks for himself, create clean looks for himself off the dribble. And they threw multiple defenders. Dame Sarr was on him. Nick Kamenia was on him the majority of the game. But he couldn't create space on Caleb Foster. And, That is why I think, even though at 6'9", 6'10", maybe even 6'11", I don't think that is who Nate Ament is in the NBA. And that's not an overreaction to this one game. That's me reacting to high school tape, AAU tape. Now, again, very talented. Do I think he's a 5 of 19 shooter? No, I think he's a better shooter than that. But if his shot palette consists of contested mid-range jumpers, then you're going to get more 5 of 19s than you will 5 of 11 or 9 of 19. You're not going to get these efficient games from if it continues to look like that. Now, he did get to the line a few times, but it just looked like a struggle for him. I think Tennessee's going to have to use him differently, because you just giving him the ball to isolate and score. I don't think you're going to win games. You're Tennessee. You have talent, but I don't think you're going to. It's just not his game, at least in my opinion. But again, attack the closeout. He was good on the glass. It just looked like everything he did was out of the post and the mid post. Again, I'm not knocking post up basketball. I'm a fan of post up basketball, but in my opinion, when you're posting up because you can't beat guys off the dribble, because your first step isn't good enough to turn the corner, then I think that you're in trouble. So that's what I saw a lot from Nate Ament tonight, but I'm looking to see him improve in the future. So him and Mikel Brown Jr., they didn't have their best performances, but again, it's October. There's plenty of time for these guys to turn it around and be better, to have better performances in the future. But let me get into Cameron Boozer. Now, Cameron Boozer, he finished with a 20-20 game. That is crazy. He didn't turn the ball over. He led the team in assists. He shot 7 of 20 from the field, and there were a lot of, I guess you could say, me-bounds in there. His motor on the offensive glass is unreal. He grabs every rebound. He's tough. He makes shots. He had a nice isolation play at the end of the first half where they gave him the ball and told him to go create a shot, and he hit a pull-up jumper. Cameron Boozer is, I mentioned on one of the pods that I did earlier that he is probably my favorite to win Player of the Year, and you can see why. Like, the numbers, the statistics are going to be there, and Duke needs him because they don't have the same level of talent on the perimeter as they did last year. Isaiah Evans is good, but he's not Con Knippel. Your point guard play isn't as good. Like, they had 5 guys drafted last year. I don't think they have 5 guys that get drafted this year. Like I said, I think there are 2 for sure, maybe 3 first-round picks. I don't know what's going to happen with Caden Boozer. He's splitting minutes, and I think he's a good player, but is he a first-round pick? I don't know. He does have very good size. He will make plays, but he looks like a long-term backup point guard to me. Again, no shade on it. I take a 10-year career in the NBA any day of the week, but I think that Cameron Boozer is going to have every opportunity to put up monster numbers. This won't be his. I've made my fair share of bets. This won't be his only 2020 game this season. He's just that good. He's just that talented, and he makes plays. He isn't a great athlete, but his second jump is great. Like, he's very quick off his feet. He knows when he's going to miss a shot, and he's going to clean it up and grab the rebound. Very good player, picks and pops. Love his patience. A very good passer. He threw a lob off a couple back downs. Like, he's going to put up monster numbers. Definitely the player of the year. But while I do think this is a 3-man draft, there's 3 guys who could be the number 1 pick. Cameron Boozer, long term, if we keep saying he's Kevin Love, or a better version of Kevin Love, I want to see, and maybe it's not enough, I don't know, but I want to see what does Cameron Boozer look like in late game stretches of when the offense breaks down. How does he get his buckets? Now, he can pick and pop, obviously. He can pick and roll. He can post up. He's going to hit the glass. He can score in a myriad of ways. But late game down the stretch, what does his offense look like? And it's a question mark, not questioning his talent, just kind of questioning what does it look like? So, and I say that because AJ Dybantsa in 4 years in isolation looks like he's going to be able to get a bucket. Darryn Peterson in isolation in 4 years looks like he's going to get a bucket. I'm not saying isolation is the only way that you score in late game stretches, but is Cameron Boozer the type of player you can throw the ball to at the end of the game and say, make a play? And that is my biggest question about him. He is a good athlete. The stocks, steals, and blocks may not be great, but he's going to defend. He's definitely going to clean the glass, and he's going to have his moments on defense where he's just going to be an impactful defender. It just may not look like your prototypical rim protector, defensive anchor. Like I said, I do believe he's going to be able to switch on the perimeter. I don't think he's going to have any issues there. I just want to see what does it look like for him late in the game when we need buckets. Now, some people want to compare him to Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan had a go-to move on the box. Tim Duncan had a bunch of moves on the box. And also Tim Duncan did not miss those, felt like he didn't miss those 15-foot jumpers. I want to see, and again, hopefully it isn't missed that I want to see from all three of these guys, Boozer, Dybantsa, and Peterson. I want to see certain things from as the season progresses, but I want to see more skill from, or maybe go-to moves from Cameron Boozer in the mid-post. He just but he runs through a lot of guys. A lot of his stuff is because he's just physically gifted, and it's a lot of overpowering. And there's no shame in that. Sometimes you just got to be a bully. Like Blake Griffin had success in being a bully. Giannis has success in being a bully. I'm not saying bully ball doesn't work. I just want to see a little bit more, maybe some go-to moves from Cameron Boozer, because the NBA is still a lot guard-oriented, but the guys that you play through on the box, Jokic, Wembanyama, Giannis, Embiid when he's out there, Şengün, like they have a bunch of stuff that they have in mid-post or in isolation. That's what I want to see from Cameron Boozer. I guess that's my Mamba challenge to him. Again, am I moving him up, down? No. I think there are 3 number 1 picks in his draft, but just one thing that I've noticed is that I'm keeping an eye out on his layup efficiency, in particular in traffic. Now, if he misses the first layup, it feels like he's going to get the rebound and he's going to finish the second one. And that efficiency number is going to look good on paper, but I'm going to just continue to monitor his layup efficiency and his self-creation. Those things I want to see from him, but the numbers are going to be great, just regardless. And lastly, a couple of things like Isaiah Evans looked good. He's attacking guys and closeouts. Again, I think he's going to be their second option. I think a 2-man game with him and Cameron Boozer is definitely going to be there. Patrick Gong loved his activity on the defensive end in this game against Tennessee. Lots of deflections, block shots. Those are the things that you want to see. I want to say his block rate wasn't the highest last year, but again, some of that is because he just didn't play a lot of games when he was hurt, and also he was at times a second or third string big. But it's going to be a very fun season. Again, these are just my thoughts, impressions on these exhibition games. Shout out to these teams for playing against quality competition. I mean, it's great for content, but it's also a good litmus test for your team to say, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that. Young player, you need to do this, you need to do that going forward. So, again, I'm not moving anybody up or down based off of 1 or even 2 exhibition games. Just giving my thoughts, but that concludes today's pod. Again, I am James Barlow. Hit the subscribe button. Follow me on social media. I'm here. I'm going to be covering the draft. It's going to be more than just the big 3, but definitely wanted to give my thoughts on these guys. So stay tuned. I'm out. Let's see if I can knock this one down today.